What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing a comparison between the Battlefield 2042 Beta and the full launch of the game, now that it has officially launched in the early access, and all of these comparisons will be done on the Xbox Series X. Now, I've kind of already done this video comparing like the UI changes and all that kind of thing, and because of that I'm not really going to cover the UI or any of those elements in this video, simply because that video still stands. So if you guys are interested in seeing all of those changes, even though to be honest they will be visible in this video anyway, I just won't focus on them, then I'll leave a link on screen at the end of this video and you guys can compare all of those changes too. In this video though, I'm mostly going to be covering a few of the more sort of gameplay related elements, and we're going to cover the performance and graphical issue comparisons, some changes to Orbital that weren't there in the beta, the new revive system, and also the plus system, and I guess the attachment system overall. And if you guys do want to find each individual section, then there will be timestamps down below. Before we get into it, if you guys are new to the channel, then consider subscribing and turning on those notifications. But with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. So like I said, we're going to be starting off with the sort of performance related stuff first and foremost, and although it might not show too much in the video simply because they are both rendered in the same settings, I'll do my best to try and show the differences. However, this section will probably be more opinion than direct comparison. Now obviously in the beta there were a heap of visual issues, stuff like the texture popping and just like different assets on the map wigging out and stuff like that, and you can see what I mean on screen right now. There was just a lot going on with the visual side of the game, and although it ran somewhat smoothly gameplay wise, it definitely looked a little bit messy. In the actual launch build, however, that has been completely eradicated. I've played about 30 or more hours as you guys are watching this, and I'm still yet to see any sort of visual bugs in the same fashion as the ones in the beta. It seems they've completely cleared that up, and yeah, overall it just looks a hell of a lot nicer in that regard. I also think the actual graphics are slightly better too. Often in beta builds the assets and textures won't be quite at their peak, just because I assume the devs want as little stuff to go wrong as possible, and so it's not a drastic difference by any means, but I do think the game looks a little bit nicer graphically, which I guess is to be expected. In terms of the overall performance, again just speaking on the Xbox Series X anyway, because I've heard some criticism on the PC side of things, but yeah, I think the performance seems to be near on perfect so far. I'm playing in 4K at 60 FPS, and I don't think I've really had any frame drops or stuttering or anything like that. It genuinely feels like it runs buttery smooth, although again I'm not too sure how that'll actually come across in the video itself, because my recordings are only 1080p and OBS can often drop frames every now and then, so it might not look quite as nice in the video, especially because YouTube compression is absolute arse. Overall, in terms of the graphics, the performance, and just all of that kind of stuff bundled into one, it genuinely feels really good to me compared to the beta. If you guys are worried about it being kind of janky like it was in the beta, then I don't think you have too much to worry about, and hopefully as live service continues they can optimize it even further. Now moving on, we have the couple of map changes that I noticed in my playtime as well, obviously just on Orbital because that was the only map in the beta. Obviously in the beta build at the B tower there were the like external zip lines at the back of the building, however they've actually updated it so that there are now some zip lines on the side too, meaning there are now 4 on the outside, 2 on the inside, and a handful of elevators as well, so that's a great change in my opinion. I think it makes that battle for the B tower much more doable for the team who has to push the objectives, since you now kind of just have more areas to worry about when you are camping up the top there. They've also added a little bit of cover on that really flat area above the D1 and D2 tunnel as well, and that's a change that I was really rallying for after the beta, because pushing across that area can be absolutely dreadful at the best of times, so I really like that change too. However, I would also love them to add a little bit up towards the rocket as well, so we'll have to wait and see if that ever happens. As far as I can tell though, that's all of the changes on the map as of right now. I haven't noticed anything else just yet, but if I'm wrong on that one, then definitely feel free to let me know down in the comments. Now moving on, we have the changes to the revive system, which honestly is one of the nicest quality of life changes that I've noticed from the beta, and it's kind of crazy that it took them like 10 years to fix this, as this was an issue all the way back in Battlefield 3 as well, and it was kind of apparent between Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 as well, so it did take them quite a while, but we finally got there, boys. It seems they've removed the ability to actually pick up a teammate's weapon while they're down, so it only has the ability to revive them now, meaning it just works 100% of the time, and then obviously if they die, then you can pick up their weapon. So that is essentially 100% fixed as far as I can tell, and I can already notice it is actually promoting team play a lot more often. I no joke got revived more in my first stream of the full game than I did in my 30+ hours of the beta, so I think that is a really solid fix on their part. Now lastly, before we finish up, I just wanted to mention the changes to the plus system as well, and the attachment system overall. In the beta, obviously the weapons all just had their own attachments that were sort of just like pre-assigned to those weapons, but in the full game you are are actually able to set your own attachments within the Plus system, as well as setting the actual starting loadout as well. You can bring along 3 attachments for each element of the weapon, and whatever you set in the first slot, so the one closest to the center of the Plus, that will essentially be the base attachment. So when you spawn into a game, that will be the starting loadout. The Plus system was solid in the beta, but it was obviously very bare bones, but we do finally have complete control over attachments in the final build of the game, and so that is yet another change that I'm really enjoying so far. But anyway guys, that is going to do it for this one. Like I said, if you want to see a direct comparison of the UI changes and stuff like that, my first video still stands, and so I'll put the link to that on the screen at the end of the video. Now in just 48 hours I also have a complete comparison of last gen versus next gen that'll be going up as well, so if you're interested in seeing that one, then be sure to keep your eyes peeled so that you can see all the differences between the different generations of the game. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like down below, and if you are new, then consider subscribing to the channel with those notifications on. If you guys want to support the content that I make here on YouTube, then consider becoming a channel member. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.